All right, get ready because today we're taking a deep dive into a secret world, like a world hidden inside all of us. And get this, it's where our muscles, our bones, even our fat are all talking to each other. It's like they're hanging out at a coffee shop.
Well, maybe not a coffee shop. Think of it more like a really, really complex network with all these messengers. You see these tissues talk using chemical signals. It's really quite fascinating.
Oh, okay, maybe the coffee shop thing was a little much. I get it.
Yeah, right.
But wait, are you serious? You're telling me my muscles are sending out little messages and my bones are leaving voicemails. What's going on here?
You could say that in a way. Ha ha. We're diving into this whole world of crosstalk, where muscle, bone, and fat are all connected. And we've got this research article, heavy stuff, but super interesting. It's called Muscle, Bone, and Fat Crosstalk, the biological role of myokines, osteokines, and adipokines. Lays it all out.
Whoa, 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 hold up. Myokines, osteokines, adipokines. Okay, I already feel smarter just saying those words. But before I run off and start showing off my new vocab, could you break it down like in English, please? What is this whole crosstalk thing all about?
It's like this, your body. It's basically a really busy city, and all these kinds we're talking about, they're like messengers zipping around, making sure everyone knows what's up. Myokines come from muscles, osteokines are from bones, and adipokines, you guessed it, they come from fat.
So instead of sending postcards, they use chemicals.
Exactly. And these chemical messages, they're important. They're affecting how your muscles grow, how strong your bones are, even your metabolism, and how much energy you have. It's pretty wild.
No way. So when my buddy's spotting me at the gym, he's not just helping me lift, he's sending out good vibes, like on a cellular level.
It's true. It's all about teamwork, even at the tiniest level.
Mhm.
And the crazy part, this whole communication system, it changes as we get older, especially if we maybe aren't as active as we used to be.
Hold up, are you saying my muscles and bones will start ignoring me if I miss a few workouts? I mean, I knew being a couch potato wasn't great, but I didn't realize he was messing with my internal messaging system.
Well, think about it. If you're not moving around much, your body gets the message that you don't really need to build muscles or keep your bones strong.
Right, right. That makes sense. It reminds me of this Twitter thread I saw that was talking about the same research. It said even just walking a little less each day can have a huge effect.
For sure. It's almost like we were made to move, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And this is where it gets super cool. Exercise isn't just about looking good. It's about making sure that whole communication system inside us is working at its best.
Okay, okay, you got me totally hooked. So spill it. How does working out actually change how my insides are talking to each other?
All right, let's talk about IL-6. It's a myokine, and it's kind of a big deal in the world of muscles.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of IL-6, but I don't know much about it. It's important, right? Tell me more.
It is, but get this, it's got kind of a split personality, which makes it super interesting. So IL-6 is known for being pro-inflammatory.
And inflammation is like the worst. It's like that guest who comes over, trashes the place, and won't leave.
You got it. Having inflammation all the time is terrible for you. But here's the thing. When your muscles release IL-6 during a workout, it actually does the opposite. It acts as an anti-inflammatory. It's like exercise gives IL-6 a pep talk and tells it to behave itself.
Uh-huh. So it's like, all right, IL-6, I know you like to cause trouble, but we're working out here, so be cool, okay?
Exactly. Exercise changes the game completely. Suddenly, IL-6 helps your muscles recover and even helps control your blood sugar, which is super important.
Wow, so just a little bit of sweat can turn a troublemaker into a good guy.
You got it. This whole system is constantly changing and adapting, and we have more control over it than we think.
That is so cool. Okay, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's talk about some of the other big players in this cellular messaging system. The article also mentions something called myostatin, and if I'm remembering correctly from my gym rat days, it has something to do with muscle growth, right?
You got it. Myostatin is definitely part of muscle growth, but think of it like the brakes on your car. It actually stops your muscles from growing too much.
So the more myostatin you have, the harder it is to build muscle, even if you're like a total gym nut.
Exactly, like trying to drive uphill with the parking brake on.
Ugh, that does not sound fun at all.
And here's the thing. The article says myostatin doesn't just mess with your muscles. It also affects your bones. Makes it harder for them to stay strong and healthy.
Okay, so high myostatin is bad news all around. But there have to be some good guys in this story, right? What about the myokines that actually help our bones?
You're right. Not all heroes wear capes, and not all these kinds are slowing us down. There are some real superstars in the mix. like IGF-1 and FGF2.
All right, those sound like they mean business. What do they do?
Well, remember how we said myostatin is like the brake pedal? These guys, they're hitting the gas on bone formation. They're like a construction crew working around the clock to make sure your bones are strong and healthy.
So it's like this constant back and forth, right? These different messengers battling it out, and our bones are caught in the middle.
Exactly. It's a constant balancing act.
Yeah.
But the good news is we're not just along for the ride. The choices we make, especially when it comes to exercise, can really make a difference.
So it's not like these chemical messengers are calling all the shots. We actually have some say in how this whole thing plays out.
Absolutely. And that brings us to one of the most exciting discoveries in this whole field of research, a myokine called irisin.
Irisin. Now that one sounds familiar. The article called it newly discovered, and I always love hearing about new discoveries. What's so special about irisin?
Well, the really cool thing about irisin is that it's made by both muscles, A and D fat. Talk about a multitasker. It's like the overachiever of myokines, with potential benefits for bone health and insulin sensitivity.
Wait a minute. Are you saying this one tiny little messenger could have a big impact on major health problems, like diabetes and osteoporosis?
That's what the research is suggesting, and it's pretty exciting. It's still early days, but just imagine the possibilities if we could figure out how to use irisin to create new treatments for these conditions.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. This is why we do these deep dives. So we've covered the messages coming from our muscles, but what about our bones? They're not just sitting there listening to all this chatter, are they?
Not at all. Bones are definitely not wallflowers in this conversation. They've got their own messaging system, and one of their star players is osteocalcin.
Osteocalcin. Okay, I've definitely heard that one before. It's an osteokine, right? The voice of Team Bone.
That's the one. And let me tell you, osteocalcin is a busy little messenger. One of its most important jobs is keeping your blood sugar in check, regulating insulin sensitivity and glucose uptake.
Ah, so we're talking about blood sugar control. That's important for everyone, not just people worried about diabetes.
You got it. Keeping your blood sugar stable is super important for energy, focus, and just feeling good overall. And here's where it gets even cooler. There's a specific type of osteocalcin called undercarboxylated osteocalcin, or UKOCN for short, that seems to have a direct line to our muscles.
UKOCN. Sounds kind of like a secret code. What's it telling our muscles?
Think of UKOCN as a motivational coach for your muscles. It's basically giving them a pep talk on how to use glucose more efficiently.
Uh-huh. So it's like my bones are saying, hey, muscles, I'm sending you some top quality fuel here. Now use it wisely.
Exactly. And this efficient energy use is great news for our metabolism. Some studies even suggest that UKOCN might actually help our muscles grow stronger.
Hold on. So stronger bones could lead to stronger muscles. Is that what you're saying?
There's definitely a connection. This whole system is designed to work together, like a well-oiled machine. Muscles and bones constantly supporting each other for peak performance.
That is wild. It really shows you how interconnected our bodies really are.
Absolutely. And speaking of connections, remember how we talked about IL-6 being released from muscles during exercise? Well, guess what? Studies have shown that this IL-6 can actually boost the production of osteocalcin in bone.
So it's like this chain reaction of good vibes.
Right.
Exercise gets the IL-6 going, which then tells the bones to pump out more osteocalcin.
Exactly. It's a beautiful cycle of positive feedback where movement triggers a cascade of beneficial effects all over the body.
Mind blown. Okay, we've got muscles sending messages, bones firing back replies, but we can't forget about those adipokines we talked about earlier, the messengers from fat. What's their role in all of this?
Ah, yes, adipokines. Well, they're kind of a mixed bag, to be honest. Some of them, like leptin and resistin, are linked to inflammation, and they can actually have some negative effects on both bone and muscle.
So some of the messages coming from fat are basically trying to sabotage our bone and muscle health. That's not what I wanted to hear.
It's true, but don't worry, it's not all bad news. We've also got some good guys on Team Adipokine, like adiponectin.
Adiponectin. Now, there's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Adiponectin is like the peacemaker of the adipokine world. It's anti-inflammatory, helps with insulin sensitivity just like osteocalcin, and it basically tries to counteract the negative effects of those other adipokines we talked about.
So basically, we want to pump up the adiponectin and tell those inflammatory messengers to take a hike, right? Is there anything we can do to make that happen?
You know it, exercise. Regular physical activity is like hitting the boost button for adiponectin production. At the same time, it tells those harmful adipokines to cool it.
Seriously, is there anything exercise can't do?
It seems like not. When it comes to this whole communication system inside us, exercise is about as close to a magic bullet as we can get.
It's like our bodies are practically begging us to get moving. So, as we start to wrap up this deep dive, what's the one big takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with? What's the big aha moment?
Well, more than anything, I hope our listeners walk away with a deeper understanding of how incredibly interconnected their bodies are. Our muscles, bones, and fat, they're not just separate entities. They're constantly talking to each other, working together in ways we're only just beginning to understand.
It's like a giant dance party happening inside us, and every part of our body is invited.
Exactly. And like any good party, things run a lot smoother when there's a good balance. And unfortunately, as we get older, or if we're not as active as we used to be, those communication lines can get a little fuzzy. And that's when we start seeing things like bone loss or muscle weakness.
Which is such a good reminder that taking care of our health isn't about vanity or fitting into a certain size. It's about keeping those internal conversations going strong. And to think something as simple as a brisk walk or taking the stairs can have such a huge impact on this amazing system.
Absolutely. And that leads to my final point. Aging and certain lifestyle choices can definitely make this internal communication more challenging. But we do have a powerful tool to help keep things running smoothly: exercise.
It's like exercise gives our cells the cheat codes to level up their communication.
Exactly. Every time you move your body, you're sending a clear message to your muscles, bones, and fat, telling them to stay active, engaged, and in top form.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it, the power we have to influence our health at such a fundamental level. So next time you're feeling a little lazy and don't want to work out, remember this conversation. You're not just skipping a workout. You're basically hitting the mute button on some really important conversations happening inside you.
Very well said. Let's all choose to keep those lines of communication open and our bodies thriving.
Like, it really makes you appreciate what our bodies are doing all the time, even when we don't realize it. So to recap, muscles, bones, fat, they're all chatting it up inside us. And exercise is like the magic potion that keeps the conversation going strong. What else should our listeners keep in mind as they, finish up this deep dive? Any final words of wisdom?
Just this. Listen to your body. Seriously, if you're feeling stiff or slow or just off, it might be a sign that those internal conversations are starting to fizzle out. And what's the best way to get them going again? Health get moving,
Use it or lose it.
right?
Right. But we're talking about way more than just losing muscle or bone. We're talking about losing that essential communication network that keeps everything in tip-top shape.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just find small ways to move more throughout your day. Take the stairs, pace around while you're on the phone, crank up the music, and dance while you're making dinner. Little things make a big difference.
I love that. Sneak in those movement snacks throughout the day. Our bodies will thank us later.
Well, this has been an amazing journey, exploring this hidden world of muscles, bones, and fat all talking to each other. I'm ready to go for a run right now. How about you? Me too. It's incredible to see how much we're still learning about the human body and how everything is connected.
It really is. A huge thank you to our expert for joining us today and for sharing all this amazing knowledge. And to our amazing listeners, as always, thank you for being here and for being curious with us. We'll be back next time with another deep dive into the fascinating world of science and the human body. Until then, stay curious and keep those conversations flowing.